Welcome to Awaken the Dream. This is the place where we pause, reconnect with what matters, and rediscover the dreams we may have set aside. Each episode, we explore the stories, people, and moments that help us live with more purpose and intention. Today, we're honoring the National Day of Listening, a reminder to slow down, ask questions, and truly hear the voices in our lives. And to help us explore that deeper, we'll be joined by a remarkable guest, Cheryl Taylor Kaiser, also known as the Photo Archeologist, who uncovers the stories hidden in our family photographs. Stay with us. Today's episode may help you awaken a story, memory, or a dream of your own. Start again. Each year, on the day after Thanksgiving, we celebrate something more than sales and shopping. We celebrate listening. The National Day of Listening began in 2008, created by StoryCorps, an organization dedicated to preserving people's personal stories, stories of love, courage, struggle, and triumph. It was a response to the rush of modern life, a call to slow down and listen, to truly hear the voices of those around us. StoryCorps invited Americans to take just one day to sit down with someone they cared about and record a meaningful conversation. Listening is one of the greatest gifts we can give another person. When we listen deeply, we say, "Your story matters." In a world filled with noise, opinions, headlines, notifications, listening reconnects us to what's real and human. It bridges generations. It heals misunderstandings. It reminds us that wisdom isn't only found in books or on screens. It lives in the voices and experiences of those around us. When we take the time to ask someone about their life, we not only honor them, we also learn something about ourselves. We begin to see how our own story fits into the larger story of humanity. Participating in the National Day of Listening is simple. No fancy equipment or studio required. Just choose someone you like to listen to, pick a quiet place, and be fully present. You can record your conversation using a smartphone, an app like StoryCorps, or simply take notes as you listen. What matters most isn't the recording, it's the connection. And here's something important. Even though the official day is the Friday after Thanksgiving, you don't have to wait. Pick any day between now and the end of the year. Make it your National Day of Listening. Schedule a time to listen because everyone's story deserves to be heard, not just once a year. If you're wondering what to ask, start simple. Here are a few questions to spark meaningful conversations. What was life like when you were growing up? Who has influenced you the most and why? What are some of the happiest moments you remember? What challenges have shaped who you are today? What lessons would you like to pass down to others? What are you most proud of? What advice would you give to someone starting out in life? You'll be amazed at where these questions lead. Often the most profound moments come from quiet pauses and honest answers that come straight from the heart. When you take the time to listen, you build a bridge between hearts. You preserve memories that might otherwise fade. You strengthen family bonds. You learn lessons that no textbook could ever teach. And perhaps most importantly, you remind the person speaking that they matter, that their voice has value, that their life has meaning. You'll also discover that listening changes you. It deepens empathy. It brings gratitude. It opens your eyes to the beauty in ordinary moments, the kind that make up the fabric of a life well lived. So, before the year comes to a close, choose a date to listen. Sit with someone whose story you've never heard or one you'd love to hear again. Because when we listen, we don't just hear stories, we keep them alive. Welcome to Silver Sage, Awaken the Dream. I am Joan Rudder-Ward, your host, and I'm so glad that you joining us today. My guest today is Cheryl Taylor Kaiser. She's a certified professional photographer since 1990, and she has a specialty as a photo archaeologist. What's a photo archaeologist, you ask? We're gonna find out. Cheryl, thank you for joining us today. So glad that you're here.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here and wonderful to see you. Thank you.
All right. And we want to find out, what is a photo archaeologist, and what do you do?
Well, I came up with the term photo archaeologist because I love digging into history. I love old photographs, and I love helping, guiding families, organizations to dig into all those photos that are hiding in boxes, or maybe they're trying to uncover their photos to work on genealogy or create a collection of some kind. So to uncover the details, learn from our photographs, use them in all sorts of ways to learn so much more about history and ourselves.
That's pretty interesting, because we all have history, and hopefully we do have photographs, and it's all part of telling stories. National Day of Listening is the launch pad that we're using for this particular episode as well, helping people discover their stories, get into their history, and just what is the story with those photographs. Why is it that old family photos hold such a special power and meaning for people?
We could go on all day about the power of old family photographs. But I think the most obvious are they bring back memories. They help us remember experiences that we've had personally or with a family member. They give us a deeper understanding of our ancestors, even our parents, they're our ancestors, right? But their lives and times and circumstances, and it gives us an idea of where we've come from. You can find characteristics in pictures of family members. I discovered I have my grandmother's smile. Never knew that until a couple months ago when I was writing an article and looking at her photograph. And also, as it brings us, it allows us insight. As we grow personally, we can gain a renewed and deeper understanding of the past for ourselves. This gives us insight. Maybe we need some healing. Maybe we just need to forgive something from the past. That now, with a photograph and how we've grown personally, we realize we see it a little differently. And because maybe we have more experiences, and it can bring some reconciliation, and can even bring new meanings to what were previously overlooked details in those photos, and like characteristics, or maybe you notice a family member doing something, it was just a snapshot, and realize, oh wow, they really did love to do that. It gives you a little insight just from some of the details, and that's what I love looking into.
Yeah, that reminds me of just some family that I recently connected with, that a connection had been lost for 4 generations. This is my family from Barbados. And it was interesting to find out for me that a great cousin, cousin second, third removed, I don't know how those things
We
work,
lose track.
but but was an avid photographer. And I didn't know that because in my family, I mean, my mom, she always took pictures and she always made sure a professional photographer came in and did at least yearly pictures of us. But I didn't, that this was the first time I had seen someone in the family that was actively involved in photography. And it was like, oh my gosh, it's in my blood, you know? So yeah, it's really interesting what we find out, about our history, period,
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a similar circumstances, real just working with my great grandmother's collection and my grandmother's collection, realized how many photographs they loved taking pictures, and that triggered a memory for me. I remember when I was maybe 4, my grandmother giving me a square box camera, but it was one that you had to mail back to get the
Mm,
film developed. I have such vague recollection of that, and now I realize it's in my DNA too, doing
right,
photography.
right, yeah, that's, hey, it's really cool when you find out those things, especially those good things,
Yes.
and we all have those good things, a lot of times people, "Oh, my family, this happened, that happened," something negative, but there's all positive attributes, that, we can pick up from our family members,
Mhm.
and from our past.
And
So
even sometimes deeper understanding, like I said, as we grow and maybe look at a picture we had looked at a long time ago, but now we realize, oh, maybe that's why that happened, you know?
right,
So that's where the forgiveness or reconciliation, even if that person is passed,
right.
it helps your heart.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes. Okay, so how can digitizing and restoring old photos connect with storytelling?
I am so glad you asked that. Uh, First of all, I just want to touch on the restoring aspect. Think of traditional restoration of a photograph. I've been able to help clients restore details of their photos that otherwise were faded or lost. Um, Digitizing is really important for many reasons. We've all seen the news, accidents happen, acts of nature, so originals can be lost, and digitizing protects not just loss, but the way collections are passed down through the generations, typically eldest to eldest to eldest.
Mhm.
And if a couple generations from now, you have complete branches of the family that have no photographs of their ancestors. And that's what I've experienced right with my immediate family, as well as, a couple of my 59 second cousins. I had no idea I had that many second cousins. Um, but, I inherited a small collection that I don't know where my mother got them from, but they came from Holland. And there were pictures of my great grandfather as a child, and I started sharing them through my cloud platform, and I had second cousins going, "Where'd you get those? We had no idea they existed." And
Mhm.
that's when I realized how important it is to digitize the originals, not just for preservation of the image itself, but to be able to share with our cousins in our family now, as well as generations to come. Yes.
Not just depending on those originals. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's a good point, and that's a good thing to consider is, yeah, you bring all the pictures together, but with digitizing them, more than one person has a copy, and it can be passed on from generation to generation, and the family legacy. So
And even with splitting up, and everybody feels it's a good idea, split up, give him his, and hers. um but a generation from now, his family has no pictures of her, so
mm,
that's where splitting it up by family member seems like a good idea. And it's great for the originals. I do that myself, but I digitize them first, so
Mhm.
that I can share both, all the branches of the family and not just, split up the collection and then suddenly branches of family have none of the other. So
Right. Well, okay. How could families use their old photos to participate in the National Day of Listening?
I love this the most because photographs, whether they're, in a dusty box in the closet or a picture you took last year on your phone, are wonderful for triggering conversations and stories. So whether you're using an old photo and asking, I don't know, grandpa, what was it like when, in 1950 at this Christmas, or just saying, what did you enjoy most about Christmas when you were a kid? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an elder person. Could be, your brother or sister, your child, and ask them, just ask them a question. What was your favorite thing about, this morning, Christmas morning? And with permission, if you have a cell phone, do a little voice recording and get their voice, because having the actual voice, similar to being in a video, you feel like you're connecting with the person as they're speaking, even if it's just an audio recording. And if you have a photograph with it that you're specifically asking them about, and, as families are coming together, it's a great opportunity, especially if you have an old photograph, to ask about those details or something you noticed.
Hmm.
Um, and then recording the stories. If you can't do an audio recording, soon as the conversation's over, make some notes for yourself and
Right.
write it down, and then pair it with the photograph or series of photographs. And that's where the family legacy builds, because one question will lead to one story, which leads to another story. And that's how we sometimes,
You're right. Yeah,
you
and
know,
that seems like a fun thing to do too, because
it, it is.
just thinking if even sitting with your siblings. I mean, it could be at a family reunion or just over someone's house, and it's like, hey, you guys remember this picture? And what do you remember about this picture? Why were you doing that? And yeah,
Yep.
that
Yeah,
it,
it's even a great way to bring the family together. And
yeah,
I had done that a couple of years ago. My daughter was in town, my brother was in town. We did a family slideshow. I dug out the slide projector. We had a great evening. But even simply seeing an old photo album on the shelf and pull it off the shelf. I've done this at friends' houses. I do ask their permission first. And I'm like, can I look at your photo album? And they're like, oh, sure. I haven't looked at that in ages. And you open it up, and suddenly you hear their life story. It's a lot of fun, a great way to bring the family together for a session of listening and sharing and, you know,
yeah, that's
learning
a
more.
great idea. Yeah, I mean, that's great. Just being intentional with doing that. Okay, we're gonna get a picture. So, okay. And so we're gonna take a break right now, and we'll be back and talk with Cheryl some more.
As a young girl, I just grew to love using power tools, pouring concrete, and doing things that were scary and loud, and yet I looked around and realized no other girls are doing these things. As I grew up, I realized that girls need to see themselves in this space.
Start here.
So that's what I set out to do, and I became an educator and a mentor for young girls.
No masks down till clear.
Making teaches girls how to think of their ideas as important.
Go light.
It changes the way they think about what they're capable of. If I can fuse metal, what can't I do?
Perfect. Look at how good that was.
And so I think making for girls is about voice, and that's what's really exciting, because we're building the world we want to see for ourselves. Now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Thank you for rejoining us. Cheryl, tell me, how do you respond to people who think, I don't have anything important that's happened in my life. Nobody would be interested.
I have heard that a million times. I can tell you. Um, and I believe the background and the reason we may say that is we see our lives day to day. How many of us have something exciting that happens every single day that's life changing? And, we're kind of busy doing the thing, doing life. And kind of like a child growing up, you don't see them growing day to day. But when you suddenly see somebody else's kid, a year later, it's like, wow, they've grown so much. The big picture of our lives is worth telling. And it's in those little details, in listening to other people's stories and letting it percolate and bring up ideas and things. When someone says I don't have anything interesting to say, it's either they don't want to talk about it. That's possible. But we all have overcome something. We have all had circumstances that we have had to persevere through, and we may not even give it much weight now, but in those stories could be something that resonates deeply for a child, or grandchild or great grandchild in the future. So it is important. My mother-in-law, for example, didn't see any value, and I'm still working on her to tell her stories. She didn't see any value in having anything to say. And I said, but you were a single woman who kind of had to leave home for family reasons in the 50s. She had a career, she had her own apartment. And when I've heard her talk about that, she was very proud of that period of time because other women didn't do that. And she was strong. And so those are the stories that we may not give a lot of weight to overall, but in the greater scheme of things, they're really powerful. So I encourage people that, ask questions and encourage the person you're asking the question of. Just say, no, I really would love to hear that. What was your favorite thing? Like, maybe just ask them a little bit more of a question to get them started.
Get them started, right.
And then there'll be lots of stories coming from that. And sometimes the other excuse is, oh, my kids won't care. And my immediate response is, from my personal experience, is your kids may not care right now in this moment, but they will. So do it now while you're thinking about it, while you can. And because your kids, or maybe your grandkids, will want that. And it would be a shame to not have it, the stories.
Right. Especially those situations, like you said, someone having a career in a time when it wasn't, the main thing, but being strong and being able to make it on their own, then that lets a descendant know, wow, that's in my blood. I could,
Absolutely.
I could do that. I can overcome. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. Okay. So why is it important to capture these conversations now instead of waiting?
Very simple. First of all, there's a proverb, I don't know where it came from, that when an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. All those stories are gone. And so getting the stories now, whether in writing or with permission recording, and our memories are short. So for ourselves, we have a story. I'm saying this out loud because I think I need to hear it. Our stories are important too. So if something, triggers your fancy, or a photo or circumstance, do a little voice recording or keep a journal and write your story as well. Because that's what it's the stories, the audio as well as the visual, that creates a legacy that, will live on. And, we shouldn't wait because we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Oh, that's true. Right.
So, while you're thinking about it, do it.
Do it.
Intentionally.
Do it. And so we're out of time. But I want to let you know that Cheryl has resources to help you. Because what I hear people saying when they have a lot of photos, whether they're in boxes or this hard drive and that hard drive in different places, is they start to feel overwhelmed. How do I even start pulling all of this information together, get it organized in a cohesive manner, get the stories going and everything? So Cheryl has some resources that can help you, and you can find her information on our Silver Sage website with links to her information, and she has some great downloads. Like this one is 5 steps to unbury your old photo gems. Those old photos are priceless, really. And so she has things here to help you get started. So you don't have to put it off any longer. You can start gathering things up and getting those stories preserved for generations to come. So, Cheryl, I want to thank you for joining me today, joining us, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and also just letting people know that you're available there to help them
Absolutely.
with compiling their own legacy and telling those stories. And you even help them find the story behind the pictures. Because
Yes, I
sometimes
do.
people are like, well, what does this mean, or where did this come from? But you being the archaeologist, that's what you do, is you dig out the history of the time that those stories were created. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you
And
very much.
thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.